Hi, I'm Aleisha and welcome to my YouTube channel. I also want to welcome you here into my garden on Orcombe Farm in the Barossa Valley. This is where I'm going to be sharing lots of gardening tips with you and also garden design inspiration. So just a little bit about me. I am a third generation horticulturist. I am a garden designer, a garden educator through workshops and also at the local primary school teaching kids. And I'm also a self-published author, so I have just published my second book, which I'm just about to launch, and I'm so excited to be able to share everything with you. So I'm going to take you on a little garden tour now. I'm going to share all the good bits and all the bad bits. There will be lots of weeds. It is in the middle of winter at the moment, and I can't wait to share all the progress with you. So I'm going to begin the garden tour at the front garden, and you'll have to say hi to Frank. Hi Frank, he's just had surgery yesterday. He's recovering really well, as you can see. So we step off of our front veranda and onto this small lawn area. Well, I've only got a small lawn here because we are really limited on the amount of water that we can use. And then I've designed the main perennial garden on this upper terrace, and I've really designed it, it's looking very wintry at the moment. I've designed it around the view so we can really maximize that view of the Barossa Ranges. And then this was one of only 2 trees on around the house on the property. So yeah, I really had a blank canvas to begin designing this garden, so that gave me a lot of freedom, which was great. So the perennial garden continues through here, and then we have a bit of a break in the garden, and this is the western side of the garden. This is where we have our fire pit and the main rainwater tank, which feeds the whole garden. This is the only source of water that we have for watering the whole entire garden. So we have lots of really hardy Mediterranean plants out on this really hot and dry western side of the garden, and lots of succulents. I actually love designing with succulents. You can see there's so many different colours, shapes, textures, and yeah, we've also got lots of weeds. Soursops are a real problem around the Barossa area. And then we head down the stairs to the productive patch. So all the jonquils are flowering at the moment. So this was the second tree that was on the property when we first moved here. This is a really old almond tree. So I designed the vegetable garden to capture some of that afternoon shade and just a little bit of sun protection because it gets super hot here in the summer afternoons. And all of my vegetable gardens are wicking beds, so that helps to preserve some water also. So now I've just stepped down onto the lower terrace, and this is what the front of the perennial garden looks like on the lower level. So I've planted, this is a very steep slope, and I've planted lots of really hardy, mostly mounding plants, lots of different shapes and textures. You'll also notice all of the rocks and the gravel driveways and pathways. We've also built from scratch using resources that we've found on the property. And then heading over this way, this is my latest project. So I've been converting the front paddock into a native garden. So this one is fully self-sustainable. It receives no water. So I plant in autumn and I water the plants in, and then they have to survive on their own with just the rainfall alone after that. So this garden for me, I feel like it's been really successful, so I will be extending that further down the paddock as time goes on. And then we head over back to the productive garden where I've got my vegetable wicking beds, and this is my cut flower garden. So it's obviously very dormant at the moment, but this section here is where I grow my echinacea flowers, which put on an amazing show in summer. And then I have my cut flower section that I grow from seed. So some plants have popped up from seed all by themselves from last year's seed. I've got lots of Queen Anne's lace and some statice and cornflower growing in here. And then you can see I've got all my little seeds are just starting to pop up, so they will put on an amazing show in spring for the spring cut flower garden. So I have got lots of work to do down here. I am replanting a new hedge through this section of the garden, so it's looking quite bare at the moment. And then heading down into another really new section of the garden. So this is a dry grown Mediterranean garden. This is another great experiment that I've been working on. So none of the plants in here, again, they don't receive any water after their first planting, and they have started to grow really well, but so have the weeds. So that's going to be a really big job for me within the next few weeks to get on top of all the weeding. But as I said, I'm going to share all the good bits and all the bad bits of gardening. So I've just ventured over to the other side of the garden, and this is on the eastern side of the property. So this is a very hardy Mediterranean garden planted under the big blue gum trees. And this is actually pretty special because in the background here we've got some remnant bushland. So this is a blue gum grassy woodland, and it's just really special to have this beautiful native vegetation on our property. Let's see if we can go for a little walk. So as well as all the soursops at the moment, which seem to be quite a common theme of today's video, there's also lots of native grasses and lots of native lilies naturally growing here under the blue gum trees. And I've also started planting some mid-story plants through here just to increase biodiversity. I really hope you've enjoyed today's garden tour in the winter garden. Winter's one of my favourite seasons in the garden, especially when you get to enjoy plants like this Mexican tree daisy, the Mantanoa. Isn't she stunning? Thanks so much for joining me, and I'm going to be sharing my next videos on winter perennial pruning, so make sure you join me for those. Thanks so much.